Welcome to the Relatively Unknown. Welcome to the Relatively Unknown podcast. My name is Philip.
And I'm Carrie.
And we are super excited that you are here. Relatively Unknown is a podcast for relatively unknown people who are doing amazing things. Is that you? Are you relatively unknown? Are you doing some amazing things? We definitely hope so. Listen, today is going to be an amazing session as we kick it off talking a little bit about something powerful, something near and dear to our heart, which is diversity, right? Diversity and inclusion. What does that really mean? What does it look like? Especially, for a couple maybe that looks like us. It might be just a little bit different. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and the impact of Martin Luther King Jr. just on our lives, as this week we've celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day and had the national holiday, and it was an awesome time. In addition to that, we have our segment called
Did You Know?
Did You Know? And today's Did You Know is going to be a little off the beaten path, so tune in for that because you might get a small little kick out of that as we conversate through that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off the session today. What's going on with you?
Well, today I started another semester of school. So second spring term that I've done since beginning the Master's in Clinical Mental Health at Liberty University. So got one 16-week practicum class and one 8-week right now assessment and treatment planning, diagnosing, and then 8 weeks of family marriage therapy. So
so you're going in. You're going in. You got a lot of stuff that you are working with.
Mm-hmm.
I know this week has been already kind of crazy. It started off on Sunday. We actually visited our crossover ATL family down in Atlanta, and I got to see our family. We got to see our family and just kind of hang out with them as I spoke on that Sunday to that crew of people. So that was super awesome. Yeah. It's always awesome to go down and see family. Just chop it up with them.
And I mean, it was a really great word that you delivered. Just talking about the different realities that we experience, and it's all about perspective. And I think as we lean into a conversation about diversity, nothing could be more true than perspectives. Yeah. And our perspectives are very much influenced by the way in which we were raised, our environments, the culture that we grew up in, and requires us to really have a very keen sense of self-awareness, because otherwise you will miss the fact that you might possess some biases that you don't really recognize.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about bias is something that everybody has.
Everybody has a bias.
And as you said, depending upon where you came, from, where you grew up, how you grew up, those biases can be different, right? But the reality, and the thing that I say a lot of times is, if you had a bias, wouldn't you want to know? If you had something that was going to impact, just life for people, like wouldn't you want to know? And I know personally for me, it's crazy, just growing up, I'm having sometimes those unconscious biases where you don't even see nor do you recognize the things that are happening or going going on. And I know, as you spoke about, I believe those biases and the way we see things, it really impacts life. This past Sunday I was talking about those three realities, and I literally said that there's an objective reality which is based on, as we see, God's word. It's based on the physical laws, things that would never change even if we were not here as human beings. You have the subjective reality, which is the way that you see it or the way that I see it, right? And then we have the intersubjective reality, which is kind of that combination, but it's literally right. It's when a group of people come together and collectively assigned a viewpoint to a certain thing. So the question, because I said we hear it all the time, perception is reality, but what reality are you basing your thought process on? What like, how are you really seeing things, right?
And I think that intersubjective reality is really the kicker, because it's actually the thing that I wholeheartedly believe really produces the perspectives and the bias
Yeah.
that we hold.
Yeah.
Our beliefs and values are a product or a byproduct of those things, of that intersubjective reality. Because, we're only born with two fears.
Right.
Did you know that?
Yeah. I've heard it. What? Falling. And there's one more. Well, yeah, because you said two. I know falling, and there's one I can't even think of. What's
loud
the other
noises.
One? Loud noises. Yeah.
Or when people ask, like, oh, why would we be afraid of loud noises? Well, because a lot of things that might eat you
are loud.
Probably make noises, or if something's going to fall, and we have a natural startle reflex that would move us out of the way.
Right.
So it's important to understand that those things are learned.
Right.
We've learned them, but the hope is, because we did learn them.
Yeah.
We can unlearn. But we have to be open to really measure and inspect, if you will, and evaluate our beliefs.
Yeah. Let me ask you, when growing up, what was perspective like, especially around, just race and things like that? What was the reality for you growing up? Because I know we met each other, I don't know, 9th grade, my freshman year, your sophomore year,
right?
She's
in 10th grade.
She's a little older than me, right? So my freshman
was that
year,
92?
Yeah, somewhere around there, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
I graduated in 94. You graduated in 95. So
right,
92.
So thinking about that though, what was the perspective on race and relations, and was there a way that you even thought about it?
I mean, for me, and I've talked about this before, I lived in a very homogenized world.
Yeah.
It was sparsely sprinkled with diversity. I mean, I went to Catholic grade schools. So that was, kindergarten, preschool, all the way to the 8th grade. So being in a private school setting, there was, I guess, a level of access,
right,
or a certain level of privileged access,
right,
because you had to pay for being there,
right,
and it had to be a priority to you. Plus, there was the religious aspect of it,
right.
So I didn't experience a lot of diversity, preschool through really 8th grade,
right.
I picked up perspectives from my parents, but I don't ever recall seeing my parents interact with any person of color.
Oh, wow.
I don't ever recall it, and just here, literally, I've never really thought of this, but thinking about it here in the moment, but somehow it was placed inside of me that, we're all equal. My mom would always say, nobody's better than anybody else. She would say that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think too, as is very common in white America, is we pick up this mentality of being colorblind, and but it's wrong.
Right. Hey, are you enjoying this podcast episode? I'm hoping so. Now listen, did you know that there is a way that you can support the Relatively Unknown podcast? Yeah, no, for real. There is a way that you can support Carrie and I as we create a platform to help relatively unknown people who have amazing stories and amazing testimonies and who are on the cusp of breakthrough. You can simply help us by monthly joining the RU crew. That's the Relatively Unknown crew, by the way. The Relatively Unknown crew, you can support us at 3 levels, $4.99 a month, $6.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. And your donation goes to helping us to provide better content, better guests, better stuff for you all, our community. I'm telling you, it's super, super awesome. If that's you, inside of the description, there is a link to join the RU crew. That's the Relatively Unknown crew. And if you join that Relatively Unknown crew, we'll provide for you free trainings, free Q&As, free stuff. Now, the good news is, no matter what level you decide to support us at, you get the same stuff. So at the end of the day, it's up to you. We're just looking and asking for your support. We're trying to create a community for people like us, the Relatively Unknown. Now, let's go ahead and get back to today's session.
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think too, as is very common in white America, is we pick up this mentality of being colorblind, and but it's wrong.
Right.
It's wrong. I need to recognize and value your differentness, and be okay with that. Yeah,
I agree with that.
I can't walk around colorblind.
Right. Right, because many times when we say things like, "Oh, I'm colorblind," what we're really saying is
we whitewashed everything.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it all the way real.
Yeah. And I don't value you for what you bring to the table, and that's not necessarily what we're looking for or what we want to do. So for you then, growing up, again in this homogenous environment, society. Going to Catholic grade school,
and then high
middle school, and
girls
then
only
high school. Yeah, right. So where did your perspective come from for you?
I have to say that it really came from my parents, just love for people. Before the people business was a thing. Yeah. As far as a term, because Philip Edge, I think, kind of might have coined that. My dad was in the people business. Yeah. My dad was a coach. People loved my family. Yeah. My family loved on people. And that was even beyond just my immediate family, but into my larger family, which was really important to me. And I can remember, probably no one will know this, University of Louisville basketball player, but if you can put in the comments what years he played, we'll give you some relatively unknown merch. Okay. We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I'm with it.
LeBradford Smith.
Ooh, so I had
L.A. Right. So I had a cousin who was quite a bit older than me. At least she seemed like it at the time. She's probably not really that quite a bit older than me, but she dated him, and he came to a Christmas event. And honestly, I didn't really think anything of his color at all. The only thing I was like, wow, he's tall and he plays basketball for the University of Louisville. Yeah. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. And then interestingly enough, I have another cousin in the same family who now is married to an African-American woman. Right. So it just had to be something that was like an unspoken thing that was in us, right? Because they loved on people. Now, my grandfather, God rest his soul, he grew up in a different generation, and he owned a business. And, I heard him use some language that was not appropriate. And they blew it off as, oh, he's old. Right. Give old people a pass, but you don't get a pass on certain things. But nonetheless, I'm still a seed from whatever he planted, right? Yeah. To love people. And he accepted, there were no qualms. No. And the interesting thing, even in talking about, your grandfather who was awesome, I know even when I started coming around, he was still always very welcoming. He welcomed me in, and he loved on me. Like one of my favorite pictures that I have is a picture of my grandfather. I think it was my high school graduation or college graduation, one of them. I think it was your college graduation.
Maybe my college graduation, but it's my grandfather sitting down and your grandfather sitting down, and the conversations that they were having about any and everything was I remember that day, and I remember them sitting, and I remember them talking and conversating. And these are two older, they were probably, I don't know, 80s at that time. Were they 80s?
No, I don't think they were
70s, late 70s.
They would have been in their, they would have been in their late to mid 70s at that time.
Sitting down and literally having this they had never met each other.
But the cool thing was, the connection was military.
Yeah.
That was so. That in there it's relevant. Yeah. Because when we need to validate and recognize the differentness, but we need to also understand how we're so much more similar than we are different.
Agree.
And we need to find a common ground and a safe space within that place of similarity. Yeah. And our grandfathers,
they found that.
They did that. Yeah. My grandfather, it was from that time and kind of forward that he opened up and started talking about his experience in the military because he never told some of the stories that he would later open up and tell to our son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, taking our son to up north to go and see in Charlotte to go and see the sub chaser he had been on that was docked there.
Yeah.
And, to later tell some of the very traumatic and horrific stories that my aunts say he never shared.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, I wasn't there like sitting between them listening.
Right.
But I can imagine that they commiserated on that military experience and the serving of the country, like having that common bond. We fought for this. We fought for the same thing. Like that makes me really emotional.
That's powerful. Yeah.
And for your grandfather, that he had the ability to fight as a free man for a country he believed in, because that wasn't always the case.
Yeah. And this week, obviously we've celebrated, Martin Luther King Junior Day, and being able to really talk about that, especially when you think about, his most powerful speech, "I Have a Dream," and it's crazy because even as we're sitting here, if you don't know, we actually live in Georgia, not too far from the Stone Mountain that he was talking about, the same Stone Mountain that still has a Confederate mural on it. Anyway, that's a whole different story, right? But the interesting thing in this conversation is, one thing that I've heard and I picked up is to really, when you're working with people, find a place of commonality and build from there.
Yeah.
Right. And no matter what race you are, ethnicity, whatever, right? Find a place of common ground and you can build from there, because as you said, many times we're so much more alike than we are different if we really look at it and press to find those similarities.
It's really so true. And I thank Dr. King and those that marched and walked alongside of him, and those that have come since then, the advocates for social justice now, and the more recent revelation in the terminology of social trauma.
Yeah.
And the recognizing that because of our past and because of our systems, including our government system, our prison systems, our financial systems, every system, educational systems, have been built by people with privilege, with blinders, that people in our BIPOC community have and do still experience social trauma.
Yeah.
And just, recognizing that and validating that. But I also thank them for the opportunity for you and I to be sitting across this table from each other, and to have the beautiful life that we live, to be able to have, the children and grandchildren, none of that would be possible without the sacrifice, which led ultimately to his death. And he gave his life.
He gave it all
for the dream.
That's right.
And because of that, I feel like I'm living a piece of that dream. But we can't just live the dream.
Right.
We have to perpetuate the dream.
That's good.
By the way we live.
Right. And I think part of that perpetuating the dream is being able to have conversations. Even having conversations and talking to people who are different from you.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to have conversations
intentionally
that are
doing that.
Right. I have several people who I call friends right now who I literally have tough conversations sometimes, right? But have conversations, and I say this all the time. We don't have to see eye to eye to walk hand in hand. It's literally about us being able to have those conversations and be enlightened. There's so much that I find out, or they find out, that they didn't know, So just being able to have those intentional conversations, I think, is a beautiful thing.
That's the only way that the dream will be perpetuated. It's the only way that we can live in unity and harmony and respect each other's differentness.
Yeah.
While still standing on the common ground of similarity. And we can walk away and say, we don't even really have to agree, honestly. Like, I can walk away and say, I listen to you. I still hold the same beliefs, and
and
be
it's
okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have someone. You need to put yourself in those spaces,
Right. Agreed.
on purpose, where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because the only way we can grow is to expose ourselves to discomfort. Again, the only way a seed can grow is for dirt to be on it.
Right.
So you're going to have to get a little dirty. We're going to continue to have to roll up our sleeves.
Yeah.
From in every institution.
Yeah.
And even, as a Christian, specifically the church, because it's not just diversity is not just an issue of race. It's an issue of gender. It's an issue of sexuality. We got to roll up our sleeves, and we need to do some work.
Yeah. And the work has to, and we keep on saying this, the work has to be intentional. Like, we have to literally lean in to the work, as opposed to trying to mask it with this, this veil, you know what I'm saying?
We use love as a mask.
Right.
Well, I love you, brother, but then my actions, or I love you, sister, but then my actions they don't convey that.
Yeah.
What is your witness really saying? I've seen so many people like hurt their witness. Just, they're all holier than thou, da 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 da. But then their actions, their behaviors are just totally to the contrary. So, but that starts with you.
Yeah, it does.
And going back to the first thing that we said, being honest with yourself and being willing to look at, what do I value?
Yeah.
Why do I value that? Where do those beliefs come from? And then examining those beliefs and saying, are they distorted?
Right.
And sometimes bringing somebody into that space intentionally.
Yeah.
To say.
And having a conversation about it, or talk about it, or ask a question about it.
Like, hey, I feel this way about such and such.
Right.
You're a part of the such and such community.
Yeah.
Like, educate me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's a big piece right there. Educate me. And don't walk around as if you know it all, because there are things that you may not know. So just simply asking the question and being open and honest and saying, listen, I don't know, but I have a question about this. When we can have those conversations and open up the door, I think that does so much good, because that's where genuine conversations are had. That's where what we call lowering the waterline, it happens. And I can actually start seeing things that maybe I didn't see, maybe I was blinded from, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely believe in what you were saying, and asking yourself those questions. Why am I feeling this way? Where is this thought coming from? Why am I looking at this that way? Why do I feel? Yeah, who told me that? Why do I feel that way when so and so's around? Like, what's going on? Why is this deep down on the inside of me, even in the church?
Even I would say even beyond, even I'll use the word especially.
I like that
in
too.
the church, because I think we have an obligation. We're supposed to lead as we serve. I have a question. I was wondering.
Yeah.
How much do you think that your military upbringing, being an Army brat, impacted your view of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. For me, growing up as a military brat, a child of somebody in the military, right? Life was a little different from the standpoint of you were on a military base. The commonality, as we talked about a second ago, the commonality was somebody had a parent in the military, maybe even both of them in the military, right? Now, I will say this, that did not exclude us from different challenges, but honestly, my experience, my race was never a challenge. Even if there were some times when I was in a classroom and, I may have been the only person of color in the classroom. But that was, it wasn't an issue to where it came up to where, now I got to play Martin Luther King Jr. a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then there's that.
That part, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't something that was talked about, because we were friends. We were going outside playing football and basketball and playing outside and having a good time. And our parents, who were going to the foxhole together, right? Because they were going to work together. And listen, this is a life and death situation. So they literally had to trust them with their lives. You know, it was a different world.
Yeah, the whole the whole like military system and, you know, all of that. Like I could see how, you know, that's different. You know, the other thing is like you don't pick which neighborhood to live in.
Yeah.
You get housed, you know, so you don't, I would assume you don't have like a black neighborhood.
No, we didn't like
a Latinx community.
On base, no. There was
you
not.
don't have like
you
Asian,
got whatever
you know,
was
like
open.
Not Little China. Yeah, you just
Right.
go wherever they place you. Now you do have a hierarchy.
Right.
Because again, that military structure, you have the hierarchy of officers, and so of course you have the disparity there, and officers' quarters versus, you know, your general population of folks.
But even that, like again, for me growing up, I didn't recognize that.
Right,
I didn't
right.
really see that often. I mean, my parents, you know, now when my parents had their little red light and blue light parties, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, my dad had the little brim hat thing going on. I seen pictures too. I remember that stuff, right? All the little kids would be in one room. But my
parents did the same thing. Maybe that's, you know, what made us bond. That's
Maybe
that
that's what it is,
commonality.
right?
You know, the parents was in like the kitchen, the living room, and we were all like 4 million of us in one bedroom.
Room. Yeah, you
know, you jumping from bed to bed. Kids back there getting hurt, you know. And my dad is like, if it ain't bleeding,
don't
you know.
come out here. Don't come out here. But it's cool because, you know, I think that did help shape the way that I look at things.
I'm sure.
And even for me, I'll never forget, like, even when we started dating, my parents were always just like, you know, you like it, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was their methodology. They didn't.
You have 2 other siblings, and they are married or have children with someone of a different race.
Yeah, and it was, you like it, I love it. You know, I want you to be happy. And my parents have told me that many of times. Listen, I want you to be happy. I don't got to marry him. So I want you to be happy.
And I never felt, you know, treated differently. You know, I had some interesting experiences that,
like when you ate chitlins,
like eating chitlins. And
hey, did you like them? Did you like them?
I'm not gonna lie, y'all. They good with hot sauce. But you got to have the collards and the rice to go with them.
Hey, we had them collards
and not just any
and the
collards.
rice. Yeah.
You know, you got to make sure you put a little that baking soda in there.
Come on
keep
now.
the green.
Come on now.
You know, I learned.
Yeah.
To, you know, your mom, hair wasn't her thing.
Yeah.
So helping your sister,
Shalaza
with her hair.
And
y'all ain't gonna lie, I was like, what is this comb they done put on the stove top? What is this? And I was like,
they don't know about that, babe. They don't know
because
about that.
I was like, what? Shut up. Because try to iron your hair. Some white girls out there, they know what I'm talking about. You put your hair on the bed and try to use the iron to iron it out. I'm like, man, I would have done better with one of them hot combs.
Yeah.
So, you know, doing that, I mean, it wasn't like there was a boundary. Like, no, you can't, or we don't invite you into that space.
Right.
I was welcomed into the space, and my openness and the encouragement. It was to educate me.
Right.
And I didn't even know it. I was just made felt as a part of the family, and I fit as part of belonging and fitting in. I never felt pressured. I mean, not from your grandparents, you know, not from, you know, aunts, uncles.
Yeah.
You know, just always welcomed in.
Yeah. And I think, again, that's the thing. Like from my perspective, we really didn't think about that. You know what I'm saying? Again, it was more so, hey, we want you to be happy. And I know my parents have always just like welcomed you in, and your parents have always welcomed me in. I've never had, which was amazing. Like I'll never forget, like the first time I went to your house, I was so scared.
Yeah,
it was like I'm like I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's gonna happen.
The only concern my mom ever had, and you know, it was really, and I'm sure my dad did too, but my mom was more vocal about it. Was that, you know, society, people would hurt us or say hurtful things.
Yeah, and they do,
and they didn't, and they do.
Yeah, they do.
We'll talk about that one day.
They do.
They say insensitive. All your children have the same baby daddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
and people do say hurtful things, but I think that was the only thing that my parents ever said. And the only thing that I ever, like, you know, didn't understand was, you know, from your side of the family was your grandfather's accent. He called me Kern.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who Kern was for forever. So he was probably talking to me and thought that I was really some rude person. Because I never did hear him, or I couldn't hear.
Right.
But I was Kern.
Yeah. Yeah, you were. You were for a long time.
I miss hearing, you know, that Kern.
That's when we had to elbow you and say, he's talking to you. He's talking to you.
Yeah, y'all. It was bad. That's so embarrassing. Like, we're all speaking English, but, you know, they're from the South, like, serious, you know, and I'm living in Georgia, and sometimes on the podcast, I get a little excited when I talk in my little voice, you know, a little more Southern, but, yeah, that was the only thing, was the accent. It was just the difference between growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, and, you know, experiencing Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely.
Conway. And I ain't talking about Conway Twitty.
They don't know about
I'm talking
no
about the
Conway.
real.
Y'all don't know about no Conway, South Kakalaki.
Longs.
Oh, Horry County. Let's throw it on
all
out
of
there.
Horry County.
Let's throw it on out.
And
there.
it ain't spelled with an O. It's spelled with an H.
That's right. That's right.
Get it correct. So let's lighten it up a little bit.
Okay.
How about we go to our next segment?
Did you know? Okay, well, hey, I'm ready for the did you know.
You ready?
Let's talk about it. Did you know? Did you know? Let's go.
I mean, he put me in charge of something.
Let's go. Did you know? What is it?
Do you know why roller coasters were invented?
I have no idea.
Do you know why roller coasters were invented?
Mm-mm.
You don't know? You don't know, man?
I would assume because of amusement parks. Like, is that the intent behind them? Like, hey, we need a place of fun, so we're gonna create a roller coaster.
Do you know where the first one? Well, do you know where the first like real legit one was?
Coney Island.
Yeah. Good, because you got some New York roots.
Yeah.
See, I brought some similarities in,
There it
so
is.
you can find a place.
There it is.
Yeah. So
why were they invented though?
I'm about to tell you.
Okay, because I'm curious.
You're gonna be blown away. So in the 1980s, I think it was 1880s. Whew, my brain can't even think that.
I was like 1980s. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
1880s.
Yeah. In the 1880s.
Okay.
I think it was 1884-ish.
Okay.
84, 88. Somewhere around there. A hosiery businessman.
Okay.
His name was Lamarcus Thompson.
Was he black?
His name was Lamarcus.
I was wondering, you know.
You said it. I don't
name like Lamarcus. I was just wondering, you know, if it was a brother or not.
I mean,
you know, we invented a whole lot of stuff.
But he's selling hosiery in 1880.
Black people can't wear no hosiery. I mean, go ahead with your thing. Go ahead with your thing.
Okay, because it's going to get ugly in here.
Go ahead with your thing.
Okay. A hosiery businessman named Lamarcus Thomas. He hated that Americans were tempted by hedonistic places. Like what? Like what kind of hedonistic place did they have in the 1880s?
I don't know. What?
Brothels, bro.
Brothels?
Yeah.
So he hated that people were going to brothels.
And where'd they go to drink?
To the saloon?
The saloon. They didn't have no bars at that time. They had saloons and brothels.
What do saloons and brothels?
Hold on.
Okay.
So he set out to straighten these people out.
What, are you trying to kill him on the roller coaster? I mean, like, I'm trying to follow you.
So he started in the most immoral place on the planet he could think of. What'd you say?
The brothel?
No.
The saloon?
The location.
In Coney Island?
In Coney Island.
In New York.
It was the most immoral place he could think of. And he says, today, I think we'll make a roller coaster. And so he built a roller coaster using railroad technology that had improved at the time, and tried to draw away these hedonistic heathens from the saloons and the brothels and get them to experience the scariest roller coaster.
So he was trying to scare him.
So roller coasters were invented to distract Americans from sinful behavior.
I would have never guessed. like boom, you win.
I got you.
You win because
I got you.
I would have never. No.
Yes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So when you think about roller coasters, so it's obvious. I mean, you go from 0 to like I think 128 miles an hour right now is the fastest roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're getting a big adrenaline dump.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart rate increases, all of that. So these adrenaline junkies came to seek these thrill rides, and it drew them away, and it created the whole amusement park scene.
So does it say when the first amusement park actually came?
It was
right there, right there after,
right there around that.
Wow.
That it became like a whole thing. That was his goal.
Wow.
And he was going to draw them out of the brothels and the saloons into these amusement park settings using the roller coaster, which was obviously a significant type of experience.
Could you imagine? Like, did they have like test dummies on that thing? Like
no,
who tested that?
It wasn't like Volvo. Back in the day,
how many people?
They don't have any crash test dummies.
How many people died on that thing just trying to get that right? You know what I'm saying?
And that's like, roller coasters is one of the top fears. It's actually the fear of roller coasters is a legit thing. Now, as far as a diagnosis, being a counselor, it would be an unspecified.
There's some of them I ain't going on. I'm just letting you know.
But yeah.
I saw one in Vegas, and it takes you like over the edge of the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't going on that one.
So so they don't really know how many people are actually afraid of roller coasters.
I know at least one.
But the interesting thing is that people will wait upwards of 8 hours to ride a 2-minute ride. So the draw of them is significant.
It's huge, yeah.
And it's because of the adrenaline. It's because of the rush to the body. Yeah. There are a lot of people that are seeking that thrill.
Speaking of
but
roller coasters,
1 in 15 people, just like you, are afraid of heights and would not ride a roller coaster.
There's some I'm not
one
getting
in
on.
15. So there you go. There's another. Did you know? It's 1 in 15 people are afraid of heights.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah, but coaster phobia.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a legit thing, but the diagnosis would be unspecified phobia.
Got it.
If you were getting clinically,
Got it.
Like just looking at a roller coaster could scare you to death. Pictures of it, even thinking about it.
You know what scares me? The things like on TV when they take you on the roller coaster on the little YouTube ride,
like a 3D kind of.
Look, I get sick doing that.
Like a Max.
Yeah, like
called?
the little IMAX joint. Oh man, I get sick doing that.
I remember when IMAX first came out. Like that was the coolest.
Yeah.
Just be immersed in an immersive experience. They've had some of those immersive experiences here in Atlanta with like Van Gogh and
I'm not afraid of an immersive experience, but I am afraid of the roller coaster. I'm afraid of the loop. What's the thing? The merry-go-round. What's that thing called? The Ferris wheel. Yeah, I'm afraid of those.
Yeah, we know.
I'm afraid of all those.
We probably got some old footage somewhere. Now me, I'm not. We have some footage of that as well.
Listen, y'all.
Carrie, when I got catapulted.
Carrie went on what's that thing
slingshot.
called? The slingshot in Orlando, Florida. Yeah, she tried to get me
on
that thing.
With my brother from another mother D.
Yeah, I passed off to my brother Demetrius. I was like, hey, bro, you ain't scared, and Carrie ain't scared. Y'all gonna ride this thing. I was probably more scared on the ground watching y'all get slung on up, and then when you came down and you shot you back up. But yeah. I might have to show y'all some video of that.
Oh yeah, I got the video.
Cause that was crazy, and no. For your 50th birthday, we're going to Orlando. I'll do it again.
You never did it the first time, so it ain't again. You're gonna do it again. You're gonna stand on the ground.
No,
and watch
I'm gonna go on it with you.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on it with you for your 50th birthday. I'm gonna go on it with you.
And you know what I'm gonna do?
What? You gonna hold my hand?
I'll do that, but I'm gonna bring you a pair of Depends.
Oh, it's gonna be boo boo everywhere. It's gonna be boo boo, pee pee. All. Look, you better just if you sitting with me, you better get ready to get wet, cause
no, you're wearing Depends.
I'm gonna have to do something, cause
it's not the sling up. The most awesome part is when you flip over.
Man, I almost peed right now. What you talking about? What you talking about? No.
You just feel like you're like just flying.
So that's the did you know? Roller coasters.
Roller coasters were invented to end American sin, y'all.
That's so crazy.
We will go to any lengths.
That is so crazy.
You don't want to go to church? Go ride a roller coaster.
That's crazy.
That'll scare the hell right out of you. Hey, that's a great tagline. Somebody out there marketing for an amusement park. I'm your girl. I am your girl. I'll scare the hell out of you.
When I show that clip right there, get Carrie a roller coaster. She said hell. She said hell. Get her a roller coaster, somebody. Ooh, buddy. Yeah. Man, you better watch out. They're going to build a roller coaster in the front yard. She said hell.
I might be strapped down to a roller coaster. Like literally on the front of it like this. Like the little ornament on the front. What's the car with the person on it like this?
The little Rolls Royce.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going to be on the front of the roller coaster like a Rolls Royce.
That's funny. That's funny.
I'm going to be...
Yeah.
Scaring babies.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
Loud noises.
Well, listen, y'all.
You forgot one really critical thing, though.
What's that?
We finish every show with a little bit of energy. I mean, what would a show be without an edge energy shot?
Edge energy shot, y'all. You got to get the edge energy shot. And listen, it's going to be amazing.
Hey, listen. How you tell your story is extremely important. In fact, the way you tell it is going to impact the output that it produces. This simply means the way you tell your story can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Today is going to be a horrible day. Well, guess what? It is. I hate my job. It becomes the most miserable place that you are spending 8 to 10 hours at. Can't stand my spouse. Well, your mind instantly starts thinking about the things that you said that you would never do. Oh, you forgot about that? That for better or for worse thing? You have more control over your life than you think. Which means you have more control over your story in your narrative than you think. Have you ever really asked yourself, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the vision of this thing? When you get that vision stored up inside of your heart, when you can believe even when it looks bleak. See, we gotta understand, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when you get filled up with vision, nobody can tell you any different. And if nobody can tell you any different, your story and your narrative should be what you have stored up in here. It's what you believe. So we gotta remember, it's your story. You can change it if you change the way you speak about it. If you change the way you speak it. If you change the way you tell the world about your story. It's yours.
Motivation. I done went to hell on a roller coaster.
Hey, I don't know how to top that.
And came right back.
You went to hell on a roller coaster?
Yes.
That should be like a movie.
There's a new GoFundMe.
Called I Went to Hell on a Roller Coaster?
No, to put my butt on the roller coaster to scare the sin straight out of me.
That I have no response for that.
Yes.
When let it go, let it go.
I don't care.
That's not good, baby.
I've never been in a brothel or a saloon.
Do they still have brothels and saloons?
Boy, they got bars.
Yeah, but like
and strip clubs.
We do got Magic City. The Blue Flame.
The Blue Flame.
Mm-hmm.
They got the boys and the girls. They got a little something for everybody.
Yeah, true indeed.
Drink specials. See, I'm going to hell on a flaming roller coaster.
We need to get you a roller coaster. We need to get you a roller coaster. If y'all don't know what we talking about, y'all need to just tune in to the podcast, Relatively Unknown, because, yeah, you just need to tune in.
128 miles per hour, just going straight into hell with gasoline draws.
Yeah, that part.